Edward Wimmer the fourth is one of my friends in the e-commerce space, has been for a long time, and is building a really fascinating holdco with 3 brands in it right now. Road ID, a long-standing e-commerce brand, 8-figure brand. Dog ID is alongside that, where there's a bunch of growth, and he's launching Rack Rabbit, another brand, soon. And on the show today, I want to talk with Edward about the strategic and capital allocation decisions, about why to invest in additional brands, why to start additional brands, how they're thinking about the potential growth of each, and how that's dictating their decisions. Edward's been in the game for about as long as anybody I know in the e-commerce side, and has a lot of wisdom and experience to offer. You are going to like this conversation. He's one of my favorite people to talk to in the space. Edward Wimmer IV from Road ID Brands. Let's get into it. So you're telling me that background is not fake. There's not simulations of cars behind you. There's like beautiful looking architecture and trees and Kentucky skies, and that's real?
This is Kentucky, everybody, right here all the time. That's a real car, real building, real house, real clouds.
Like I honest to goodness thought you were messing with me earlier when you said.
There we go. That's just a blind.
That's amazing. Thanks for doing this. First of all, you are in Kentucky, right over the border from Cincinnati. What year did you start again? I think like the earliest of anybody I know.
The business started in 1999. We sold our first product online in 2000. If you consider fax machines selling online, then we sold our first online order in 1999.
You sold an order via a fax machine? Do you have any fax machine order optimization things to tell people who are in the fax game?
No, I think there's not a lot of new stuff in the fax game.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think we just lost half of your listeners because they don't have any idea what a fax machine
what a fax machine is. That's really funny. You've been in the game for a long time. I mean, I know that your whole site was hard-coded for a long time, and you eventually finally moved to Shopify, right?
Yeah, that's right. My terrible joke about being in the game this long is that back in 2000, there were only 2 websites selling product online. One was us. The other one was Amazon. And one of us clearly figured out something that the other one did not.
Yeah.
But I mean, we were very early days, hard-coded. First website that we sold product on didn't even have a shopping cart. Like you place the order straight to checkout. We would get an email when the orders came through that would trigger us to fulfill the order. In fact, when we launched our first store in 2000, we launched it, went to bed that night, woke up to 19 emails that said we had 19 orders. And I thought, oh my God, like this is like e-commerce is the greatest thing ever. This is going to be so easy. And then realized it was one order that had been duplicated 19 times. So the first order of business for me as an e-commerce entrepreneur was to figure out how to credit a credit card 18 times.
So funny. Yeah, turns out e-commerce has been hard pretty much since, probably. Do you?
Good point.
Go ahead. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Okay. So Road ID is a really cool product, and it's just one of those products that I've always thought like this is just cool. Like it makes a ton of sense. Makes sense for your community. Do you want to tell people like what it is really fast so that people can have a sense of kind of where things came from?
Road ID is a wearable ID that communicates who you are, who to contact, and how to access medical information in an emergency. Our core audience started with runners, cyclists, triathletes, people that go out and train and compete and race, and typically aren't carrying any form of ID with them. This can make all the difference in an accident. But the genesis of it goes back to my senior year in college. I was a soccer player trying to figure out what was next with my fitness or athletic life. And some buddies of mine decided they were going to run a marathon. I was like, count me in, we'll do that. Hindsight, training for a marathon your senior year of college is a terrible idea, but we did it anyway. And during that training, made a pretty fateful call home to the folks. And on that call, I was talking to my dad about marathon training. He was like, well, what's that? And I was like, that's a 26.2 mile foot race. He was like, well, why would anybody want to do that? And how do you train for that? And where do you train for that? And it was during that call that I told him long runs, country roads. And he was like, what? Like long runs, country roads? That sounds dangerous. And, I told him about, all the safety measures I was taking. And in spite of all the safety measures, he's like, I'm not sure I'm a fan of you running on country roads. Please, by all means, take some ID with you in case you get hit by a car. I, your dad, want to be notified. I was 21, of course, dismissed that. And that call was on a Wednesday. On Saturday, I was run off the road by a pickup truck and found myself I was in a ditch on the side of the road when my dad's comments about carrying ID came back to me, and it left me with two scary realizations. One, I could have been hit by that truck. I could have been fighting for my life in a local hospital, active on campus. People wouldn't miss me for a while. And I thought I could be fighting for my life and nobody would know who I was, who to contact, or how to access medical information. And the second way scary realization is that at the ripe age of 21, I had to admit for the first time in my life that my dad might actually be right about something. So the second one even scarier than the first. But it was shortly after.
I for sure thought you were going to say the second one was that life is short and you could die in an instant, but no, it was a joke about your dad. Yeah.
No, definitely, yeah. So as a dad now, I can appreciate that even more. But it was shortly after that I graduated. I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I was broke. My dad was broke at the time. I considered it his idea. He was kind of a lifelong entrepreneur, but also broke. And we decided to join forces. I had 2 credit cards. Each had a $5,000 limit on them, untapped. And that was all the money that I had. And my dad had a fax machine in a basement. So we got to work on this idea of Road ID. Bootstrapping with only 2 credit cards was tough. Lots of lessons that we could get into there. We had slow growth, and there were definitely times when we wondered if this was worth it, if we could make this idea of wearable ID work, if there was going to be product market fit, and all the things. And then one day I got a fateful phone call from a guy named Michael, and I answered. It was just my dad and I at the time, and I answered the phone in my customer service greeting. And Michael asked to speak with one of the owners. So I said, sure, just 1 second, put the phone down, picked it back up. And Michael proceeded to tell me a story about how his son was hit by a car while training for a cross-country season. And because of his Road ID, Mom and Dad were able to get to the hospital in enough time to make some critical care decisions. And
unbelievable.
Michael was just calling me to share a story to say thank you. But by the time I hung up the phone, he changed our lives, and he changed changed how important we thought that this product was, and we knew that we were going to find a way to make it work. So fast forward a bunch of years, we hear one of those stories nearly every day. Somebody's reaching out to us to say thank you, and some of them are pretty simple: trip over a curb, hold the Road ID up, to I'm alive today because, or we got reunited with our kids at Disney because, or one story I tell that I have a hard time getting through without choking up is a mom posted on our Facebook page that because her son was wearing it when he got hit by a car while riding his bike, she was able to be at the hospital enough time to hold her son's hand and tell him she loved him one last time.
Wow.
So there's Road ID has been around in part for 26 years, surviving lots of ups and lots of downs because we have an immense amount of passion for what we're doing.
I mean, it's a really helpful, first of all, one of the things that stands out to me about a lot of e-com brands right now is it's just that a brand with the longevity of Road ID that has the chance to get to the scope that you guys have gotten to, support your life and business, and be a good, profitable brand for a long time, which you can correct me if that's not totally true, but that's my sense, that you guys have really had a really good run for a while. It's been a good business for a while. I'm sure challenges along the way, but that's my sense. There's something to be said that I think people overlook about just how much care about the product and about the customer in these ways really, really matters. It's just really hard to replace. Obviously, your product uniquely has this thing that's important in people's lives because of the significance of it. But I think there's a real thing there where part of the reasons brands struggle and fail is because there's none of that. It's just a way to make money, and the product ends up not being that good,
Yeah, I may be stealing this from Seth Godin. I think that's the source. But I firmly believe that if you're going to do this entrepreneurship thing, if you're going to be a founder, if you're going to create a startup and have some longevity, that you really better love it. You got to love it. You got to love it so much that you feel like you'd be doing the world a disservice if you didn't do this thing. Because it's hard. We're 26 years in, and yes, we've had lots of great years. I think the structure that I put it in is that in any 10-year business cycle, you're probably going to have 2 really great years. You're going to have 2 really crappy years, and you're going to have 6 okay years. And that's been relatively true for us. If you don't love what you're doing, you're going to hit those hard times and go, I'm out. I'm going to find something else to do.
So at the same time, what you've told me is that you're investing less in Road ID now in some respect in the future. And I'll let you define what investing less means because I actually don't really know. But instead, because you guys have other brands in your space, and this is sort of the question that animated this conversation for me, and it's the reason I wanted to talk to you. You have another brand, Dog ID, that's sort of the sister brand to Road ID, in a more direct way, and then you're also starting another brand called Rack Rabbit. And so I want you to start to talk me through the assessment of your time and capital allocation on that set of brands and how you're thinking about that portfolio. So, Road ID is this good brand, but I've heard you reference sort of maybe a plateauing of its growth because you've sort of already hit so much of your market. But yeah, anyway, I won't put any more words in your mouth. Talk through that set of brands and the decisions you're making right now around where your time, dollars, and energy are going.
Yeah, I think I've gotten to this space where I try to understand what a good brand is, or where to invest time and resources over a journey. So perhaps it makes sense to share a little bit of that journey. So Road ID started a long time ago. We covered that. We bootstrapped the entire way. So growth in the early days was slow, but we eventually picked up steam. And by 2009, 2010, we were an 8-figure business doing, selling just identification products you wear on your wrist. And we did everything we could think of to drive that growth. I mean, early days, we were buying tiny little ads in the back of Runner's World and bicycling and triathlon publications. As we grew, those eventually became full page ads. We had a retail program that we operated. We had an event sponsorship program at its peak. We were sponsoring 8,000 grassroots running and cycling events across the country. Performance marketing, like in those early days, wasn't even a thing. But when it started becoming a thing, we were advertising on the predecessor to Google Ads, and I'm not talking about Google AdWords. I'm talking about this thing called Overture, which distributed.
I've never even heard of that.
PPs. Yeah, you're probably right. Most people wouldn't. But Overture, actually, I won't get into the whole history there, but it's essentially Overture became what is today Google Ads, Facebook advertising back in 2007. We sponsored newsletters or race registration sites like active.com back in the day would sell us dedicated newsletters to the tune of like $50,000 a newsletter. And we were doing that, and it worked. We were doing organic back when organic, like having followers mattered, and that's a long time ago too. But we built a community of 250,000 fans on Facebook, over 50,000 fans on Twitter. Back when all that stuff mattered. We had an ambassador program. We sponsored professional athletes, professional runners, and cyclists, and we had TV shows on NBC. We had commercials on TV shows like the Tour de France on NBC. As part of that, we had the commentators wearing Road IDs. We had a giveaway in connection with that. Our biggest giveaway, we attracted 300,000 entries from cyclists wanting to win a premium bicycle. We had an experiential marketing thing called Roadshow, where we would go to major marathons and we'd be on site, and you could order on a touchscreen system that we had, and we'd deliver a Road ID to you out the door of our giant trailer within minutes. The point I'm making in all those things is like we have killed ourselves looking for growth for this brand. And why are we doing that? Because like this thing actually matters, and we really wanted people to understand just how important it was, and that this is a life-saving device for people. But we were really spending lots of money. And as the years went by, that money wasn't turning into meaningful growth. So I don't believe that Road ID is maxed out per se. Like there's still growth opportunity, but you can suffer a lot of brain damage banging your head against the wall, trying to figure out where that next level or the next tranche of growth is going to come from. And what I've eventually, through this whole journey, have realized is that most businesses have some sort of like natural or optimal size that you're going to hit a plateau or a ceiling, and like that's probably where you should be for that company. And from there, how do you, the question turns to like, how do you become really efficient and really optimal and make sure that the brand stays steady Because you've heard the adage like you're either growing or you're dying. I don't necessarily believe that. I think you can achieve an optimal size or a stasis and not die. And so when I finally came to that realization, it's like, oh, there's a limit here. It's like, where should we, if I'm still an eager entrepreneur and want to grow, how am I going to do that? So the next step I had was dog ID.
It is time to take your website split testing beyond the basics, and you should do that with INTELLIGEMS. INTELLIGEMS is a tool that literally every one of my clients is using and using regularly. I myself am in INTELLIGEMS often with my clients, and it's because it allows you to do so much more than simple, like, headline and button color testing. Those kinds of tests can matter, right? They can make some kind of a difference. But generally speaking, small tests make small impacts on the value of the traffic that you drive. And so what you should be thinking of instead is how to make larger tests, take bigger swings in the way your customers are interacting with your brands, and then measure all of it critically at the level of profit per visit, not just conversion rate or whatever. And INTELLIGEMS lets you do that. So first of all, at the level of profit per visit, INTELLIGEMS ties into your COGS data in your Shopify store, and therefore measures the outcome of every test, not just based on revenue per click or conversion rate or whatever, but actually at the level of profit per visit, which is really critical so you know what's really moving the needle. But secondly, you can test much bigger things with INTELLIGEMS than with many other tools. So for example, you can set up price testing on your website. I mean, the price of your product has a massive impact on the margin that you drive for every purchase. It also has a massive impact on customers' perception of your product and on conversion rate. And I bet you picked your price of your product like with very little actual thoughtfulness or intelligence or rationality. INTELLIGEMS allows you to test that, and it goes beyond that too. What about like your site-wide offer? There's this thing that is on almost every e-commerce website, I feel like, that I bet very few people have actually tested, which is the 10% offer that new customers get when they submit their email address on your website. Is 10% off the right move, or is it just cannibalizing your margin? Or should you be offering a stacked discount to encourage larger cart sizes or whatever, right? INTELLIGEMS lets you test that, and so you can find the answer to that. Again, a huge impact on the value of the traffic that you drive that I bet you have not tested. What about your free shipping threshold? What about how much you're charging for shipping? All of these, even in fact, before you go live with a website redesign, you can do a full Shopify theme split test in INTELLIGEMS. And on top of all that, INTELLIGEMS is fast and easy to set up. You don't need a developer. It's really, really quick and allows you to get testing right away. I just think good stores are testing these kinds of things, good operators testing these kinds of things all the time. They really care about the margin they're driving for all the traffic that is coming to their website. And you should be doing that too. So go to intelligems.io, use the code FARIS20, FARIS20, intelligems.io, use the code FARIS20 to get to get 20% off your first 3 months. Get started with INTELLIGEMS today. Like one of the things I would say to a lot of people, if they've hit the phase of sort of diminished growth, is like, well, have you actually, especially in a brand like yours where there's this like subculture element of it, and sort of community element of it, runners or cyclists or something like that represent, they converge around the same events and celebrities, lifestyle choices, and some of those things that make it so that, part of the way I would think about growing in a space like that is investing beyond performance advertising into the community itself in all these ways, And I've watched that play out for a lot of brands that do this really, really well and end up having really good performance because of it. The thing is, you just can't say you haven't done that to you. When you talk about that, it's like
Right.
you guys have done all of it. And so if you're seeing sort of like if you just think about this from a sort of ROI perspective, like if there's just sort of some return, but it's smaller on your investment and your time and money in there, then you say, okay, well, how do we expand TAM instead of trying to keep hammering this TAM for forever? And so that is the beginning of Dog ID. I assume, I don't know if Dog ID was a direct answer to that question or if it was just sort of an obvious product spinoff, but yeah, maybe you can talk about sort of how that has played in as well. And then I'm very curious to hear about how you think about the future of that relative to this new thing you're starting and the rest. So start with Dog ID.
I guess foundationally, I'm the type of entrepreneur that just likes to do good things. Yes, there's strategy behind some of the thinking, but the way I generally think about it is, if you want to grow a business, and now the business is really bigger than Road ID, it's multiple brands and soon to be another. Like, how do we, what good things are we going to do to facilitate growth? And to color in some of the Dog ID story. About circa 2018, we had this pet product on our store. We had it on our on the roadid.com store for a long time. It was initially called the Scout ID. It was named after my dog. The genesis of the product was I was tired of my dog waking me up in the middle of the night, shaking her neck and having her ID tags clanging around, and then she'd plop back down on the hardwood floor to the foot of our bed, and those tags would hit the floor again, like a cymbal was crashing to the ground.
Yeah.
And that was that wanting a quieter ID is what caused my wife to look across the breakfast table at me one day and say, "Don't you own a company that makes ID tags? Like, can't you
idiot.
Can't you do something about this?
Aren't you the best positioned person in the world to solve this problem?"
So
that's so funny.
I can't say that it hadn't occurred to me completely before, but her looking across the table, like pointing a finger, saying, "Do something." We got off of our butts and we did something. But again, we were so focused on this for people that we just kind of built the product and then put it on the dark, dusty e-commerce shelves. And if you were a cyclist coming to us for yourself, and you happen to own a dog and you happen to trip over this product in your journey, you might buy one. And so that's where it lived for a really long time. For an embarrassing number of years, it stayed right there. And as we were struggling with trying to find the next level of growth on Road ID, somebody said to me, "Hey, what if we tried to promote this pet product?" And I had always been super resistant to that because we weren't a pet company. We were saving lives, delivering peace of mind, and fueling adventure for humans, not for pets. But because we were struggling with finding the next level of growth, I finally relented and said, "Why not?" The product, I think, had changed from the name Scout ID to Pet ID at that point, and we started promoting Pet ID. And within literally a few months, that product sales 10x'd. A few months after that, 30x'd from its starting point. And the long and short of the story is that I came into the office one day. I looked at my computer, the screen, pulled up our website, and looked at the default page and said, if I were a cyclist coming here today, I'm looking at this homepage dominated by pet messaging, I might think I showed up to the wrong place.
Yeah.
So I coupled that with this notion of if there's an opportunity here to be more than just ID products too. So there's an opportunity to grow through product expansion, and I wasn't going to let that happen under the Road ID brand because it would make things too murky.
Yeah.
So we peeled that product off into to Dog ID, moved it to dogid.com, and started expanding the products.
And that's been a place where you have seen and are continuing to see a bunch of growth. Is that right?
We are, but different types of growth. And so we came from this very challenging heritage of demand generation. This requires some storytelling. You have to tell people what it is and why they need it. With an ID tag, it's like I always liken it to selling hamburgers. Everybody knows they like hamburgers. You just got to tell them why your hamburger's better. And that's so that demand capture nature of Dog ID made things a lot easier. And
because you're getting inbound search traffic,
correct. I mean, with the name Dog ID and dogid.com, if you were to go search for an ID for your dog, what do you search?
Yeah, right. That makes sense. So that's interesting. So at the tactical level, was that did you get a bunch of organic Google search volume there, and then also had a big and pumping Google Ads account?
Yeah, and coupled with that is that through the 20 years of Road ID, we amassed a very large owned audience.
Sure.
And so just being able to promote to the Road ID audience that this thing existed, we were able to accelerate growth pretty quickly because we already had the customer. So many of our customers, our running and cycling customers, also own dogs, so it was natural for them. Yeah. They already trusted our brand. They trusted our brand in large part because we work really hard to deliver a product, service, and journey so blindingly awesome. People can't help but share it. So there was that, because we worked really hard on that, there was that trust that then we were able to share that trust over to a new brand.
Do you now have a large focus on demand generation for Dog ID alongside demand capture?
We do. Yeah. So we're doing all the things, all the tactics that your other guests talk about pretty
Yeah.
regularly.
With some help from Dave Recook, right?
That's right.
Shout out Dave. Um, yeah,
Yay, Dave.
yeah, he's the man. So when you assess the future of these two businesses, well, I don't know if you can speak to this, but what is the relative size of Dog ID and Road ID at this point? Like, are they similar in size? Is one of them materially bigger than the other?
Road ID is still the bigger brand, but Dog ID will be. Like
Yeah,
it will catch up and surpass. The addressable market is bigger
sure.
because there are so many dog owners. People spend an obscene amount of money on their dogs. They are parts of the family that get a share of the family wallet. And we are on the premium side of things. So all of our products carry a lifetime guarantee. Even if a dog chews up a leash, we're going to replace that. So
Hmm.
uh, that's
Yeah.
the positioning we're coming from is lifetime guaranteed, built to last.
In that, do you assess the growth potential? So you're starting. Here's what I'm really asking. You're starting another brand now, and I like it. When you sat and told me about this brand recently, I like immediately see it. I'm like, okay, that makes sense, especially given your audiences, and we'll talk about that brand more in a second. But why not just keep investing in Dog ID for all of your energy? This is like the classic Holdco question: is like, why spread out the investment of your time and resources if you think Dog ID has more potential? And I want the real answer to that question, because it may be rational, it may not be. It may just be like, I don't know, we're interested in doing another thing. But like I am not asking it in an accusatory way either. I'm like curious how you're thinking about this question.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is that I just like
Yeah, yeah,
I like the pain associated with
yeah,
with business. So maybe a bit of a sadist in that way.
yeah,
But I'm a true product guy. Like I love inventing product. I have dozens and dozens of product ideas, things I would like to see brought to market. So in you know in, so inherent in that is you've got all these waves that you could serve. It's like how do you decide which waves to serve? And I
yeah,
think fundamental first is like I'm going to go surf a wave. Maybe this is a bit selfish. Like I want to see this product come to market, and I want it so bad to come to market that I'm willing to maybe sacrifice other opportunity to see that happen. So back to my earlier comments about it, you got to love a thing so much, that you're willing to suffer in order to make it happen. Like I'm willing to suffer in order to see this product come to life. So it is a wave that I've determined I want to serve. Now to surf, that said, I'm now thinking more intelligently about which waves we ought to serve. And maybe before I get into that, I'll say that fundamentally, I think we've got a strong structure here with our holdco environment, if you will, to support this type of thing. So I wouldn't fold in another brand that I didn't think fit inside the existing tenets, and I'll call that like, we have a shared sense of core values. Like
yeah,
we're not changing core values from one brand to another. Operationally, like it has to work. Like we have to use this, the same back end needs to support everything. The same customer service team needs to support everything. The same pick, pack, and ship team needs to be able to pick, pack, and ship the orders. Where we will peel off, where the brands are separate, it's really on the marketing side. So we've come to this notion of building a small team around each brand on the marketing side,
yeah,
and that consists of a marketing manager who has a wide skill set and a creative that has a wide skill set, and then those two-person teams report up to a marketing director, if you will.
hmm,
So they do get one of the things that I've always been concerned about in a holdco strategy is like how do you decide where the resources go, and from a marketing perspective, like the way I've always looked at it is like there's an unlimited number of funds available to the marketing team, provided they're first order profitable.
yeah,
Like
right, right,
I'll back up the dump truck of money if you can deliver first order profitability. So I'm
yeah,
not really concerned from a growth perspective about that. And we're fortunate on both brands that, we have pretty relatively low product cost relative to our
Yeah.
pricing. So we're able to keep a lot of stuff on hand without too much cash invested in inventory.
How much of your decision making around all of this and your goals for growth in the future have something to do with your like personal financial goals? And what I mean is like, how rich do you want to get? And that's what I'm really asking. That's what I really am. I'm asking like, how much do you care about getting a lot richer than you are right now? Again, I mean, you don't have to say how much, your net worth is. I just mean like as a percentage, as a relative to your current status, like how does that play into your goal setting as somebody running these businesses?
I think I think it's a great question. We've always been our cornerstone. So I mentioned core values earlier, but we have this thing called cornerstone, which is purpose over profit, and that extends in a couple of ways. One is that we are committed to a first fruits approach of giving a percentage of every order of revenue to causes that we believe in. That doesn't come out of profit. It's not an afterthought. It's coming directly out of profit approach. And we've been doing that for a really long time. But that notion of purpose over profit also extends to your question of like, how rich do I want to be? And my dad and I started the company together. He has since retired. My sister is an owner now. And I think we have this shared set of family values that, like, yeah, money is nice, but it's not the only thing that drives us. There is, I will say that part of the realization of Road ID hitting a ceiling and allocating resources to something else is because, like, eventually, I don't have any plans on retiring soon, but eventually I'm going to want to retire, and I'm going to need to I'm going to want to be in the best financial position
To do that.
when that day comes.
Yeah.
And so, while we are purpose over profit, profitability is really important, and we need to make sure that we're serving we've got to serve our team in an effective way, but a business also is there to serve its owners.
Yeah, what I hear in that is there's a desire to generate more total income, but it's not a desire to get fabulously rich. That's like the way I hear you saying it. It's at least that's not the thing. I mean, it sounds like fabulously rich would be fine, but it's not the thing that's really motivating you in the way
That's
that
right.
you're thinking about it. Yeah. I relate to that. I am very excited to tell you about a product that I have never used, and there's a reason I've never used it. It's because I'm not allowed to. That product, or service really, is Workspace 6, which is a closed private Slack community for e-commerce operators and executives in their organizations. And wonderfully, they do not allow agency people like me or other service providers like me in the community. That's because Workspace 6 is built to be a place for sharing real information honestly and getting real help from other operators without people selling you stuff. And that alone is really awesome. And so Workspace 6, the reason I'm so happy to promote Workspace 6, even though I haven't actually ever used the product myself, is because, first of all, I've seen the value of this kind of community in businesses. Just having people you trust and can ask for answers and get help with the things that you're facing as an e-commerce store operator really quickly and easily without somebody selling you something is incredibly valuable. It's in fact very, very hard not to get more value than the cost of the community membership for something like this. And by the way, the cost of the membership is very low. It's $1 for your first month. There's no long-term commitment, so you can go actually check it out really, really fast. So there's that, first of all. But then secondly, I am a huge fan of the Workspace 6 team. They are really out there trying to help other e-commerce entrepreneurs, e-commerce operators get the most out of their stores, have the best businesses possible, and the best lives possible. Workspace 6's newsletter is one of the only newsletters I read really, really consistently when it hits my inbox. They're just great. My friend Sam Mandelson has helped recommend guests on this show, including people who have been on the show recently, who he's seen be great contributors in the Workspace 6 store. So just really awesome community. You should go join that community. These communities, community like Workspace 6, all in Slack, easy to use, easy to interact with, just part of your kind of regular workflow. It's just a huge difference maker. So go to workspace6.io, go check it out today. I'm hoping that when I get my brand off the ground and up and moving enough, I can get into Workspace 6 myself, that they'll let me in there as long as I promise not to sell, because it really is really valuable to have these kinds of relationships. And for people who are running 7 and 8 figure stores, there's just a whole bunch of community there for you and your top executives to get the answers they need really fast. Go to workspace6.io, workspace6.io to get started today. Okay, so RackRabbit, tell people about that first, so people know what you're talking about.
So this is
and tell people when it'll launch too.
Okay, launching Q1, RackRabbit was born out of a personal frustration of mine. I'm a cyclist. I ride bikes way too much. I ride mountain bikes. I ride gravel bikes. I ride road bikes. I'm your typical mammal, which is an acronym most of your audience won't understand, but middle-aged man in Lycra. That's who I am. So I have this garage.
I bet you look great in Lycra, Edward.
Yeah, no question. Then you like add in my kids and my wife, and like there's a bunch of bikes in the garage. And as a mammal, like I've got a lot of gear. I've got my helmet, I've got my glasses, I've got my heart rate monitor, I've got special cycling shoes, I've got a bike computer that needs to be charged. I got a bike safety light that needs to be charged. Some of my bikes have electronic shifting, and they have batteries that need to be charged. And inevitably what happens is I come home from a bike ride, my bike goes one place, my helmet goes somewhere else, my shoes go somewhere else, my heart rate monitor may land on the steps, and then I got to take all the stuff that needs to be charged, and I take that somewhere else and charge it. And then when I decide at 9 a.m. on a Saturday that I want to go for a bike ride, I've got to go around and collect all this stuff, and from all the different areas. And I'm very much a life hacking process snob. Like I like things to be easy. I wear the same shirt every day. I have not the exact same shirt. I have lots of these shirts, but I wear the same shirt every day.
I'm the same. Yeah.
To decrease decision making and to make things faster. So I want to be able to go out for a ride faster. I said, there's got to be a better way to store all this stuff. That's the insight behind RackRabbit, which is a garage storage solution. One stop, you put your bike in the rack. You've got a place to put your helmet. You got another place to put your glasses. You can take your cycling gloves off, put it there. Your heart rate monitor, your shoes get hung on on hooks, and it's all right there. And the other thing that this does for cyclists like me is that if I want to go for a group ride, and maybe the group ride's starting, at the bike shop that's 15 minutes away, and I'm going to put all that stuff in my car. But what happens all the time for people like me is that we get all the stuff in the car, then we show up to the bike shop only to realize that we forgot something. We forgot our bike computer, or we forgot our shoes, or we forgot our helmet. And so the idea behind this rack is it'll be a visual checklist, like I've got all this stuff. So that's the initial insight. We think the addressable market is much bigger because it won't just be for people like me. It'll be for the small family. If you just have a couple of bikes and the kids have helmets, there'll be a place for the helmet. So it can be fully built out for people that have all the things, or it can just be an amazing bike and helmet holder.
Okay, it's a really cool product. I'm also seeing the vision for your need for financial independence entirely to support all of your bike stuff. Just sounds like so much bike stuff.
Right.
I'm not a cyclist, so I didn't realize there was that much stuff. Okay, what is the potential revenue generation of RackRabbit relative to Dog ID and Road ID? Which of the three, which one can be the biggest?
I think Dog ID can still be the biggest. I think RackRabbit has a bigger addressable market and at a much higher price point than any of the other two brands.
Really? Because it sounds sort of niche to me.
Well, it's niche in the way that Road ID is niche for the competitive male cyclist, right?
Yeah.
The mammal, right?
Right.
But I see it beyond that. That might be that'll be our entry point because it's the customer we already have.
Got it. But you'll make other racks for other things.
We will make racks for every garage.
Yeah.
It will be a target customer. We want to start on the cycling side of things. So not just for your competitive male cyclists, but also for mom and dad that have one kid and 3 bikes in the garage.
Yeah. And so you actually think RackRabbit then could be the biggest business of the three?
I think I think we'll sell more volume through dog. I think eventually, if we're looking
Yeah,
down the road a few years, there'll be more volume coming out of dog ID, more unit sales.
sure, of
And
course.
but because of its price point
Yeah.
relative to dog ID, Rack Rabbit has the potential to be, and from a pure revenue standpoint, the biggest brand.
What will Rack Rabbit cost? Like, what will the AOV be, you think?
We're trying to hit a sub $200 price point.
Okay, that's not as much as I thought it was gonna be. Okay. Um, yeah, that's interesting.
But
And dog ID is what per?
customers will need multiple because you'll be able to
Yeah,
link them together to store all your bikes.
yeah. So who knows what the actual AOV will be relative to the price. The uh, what's a dog ID cost?
Uh, $30.
Okay. So you're like one rack for every five dog IDs, 5 to 6 dog IDs, or something like that.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense. And you will launch that obviously to your 20-year built list of cyclists, and I think that will be very successful, probably, right? Like
Yeah, I
you
think
got
it'll
to feel
be
really good about that, right?
in the
Yeah,
same way that we felt good about launching Dog ID to
yeah,
that same audience, right? Yes, it's. I think launching this brand without that is much challenging. Starting
yeah.
from zero is much harder than starting from where we are, which is this very large owned audience that we can tell the story to. And on top of that, on the roadie side of things, we have sponsored athletes. So we're working with some of the most well-known cycling pros. This is a product that we may have to modify their contracts to talk about, but it's a product that they'll be able to talk about as well.
This is one of the potential cases in favor of holdcos for me, is the idea that like you would actually be multiple brands that have shared audience. This where there's an actual synergy in the owned audience component of it, that becomes really compelling to me as a potential way of doing this, because it's not too unlike in some ways like an influencer launching a brand and having a big owned audience to launch it to. If it's like they can sort of draft off of the reality of the owned audience on launch, and then also some authority built into it. Now I don't know how Road ID's authority will play into Rack Rabbit, because it's a different enough product that you might, but I would think there'd be at least some positive brand shine on Rack Rabbit from Road ID. So this makes sense to me. It's almost like in a different world you could have launched a brand called the Complete Cyclist or something like that, and you would have both of these on the same thing. Like, I don't think you should do that, of course. Like, I think they're so different, and the different price points and all those things, but they could certainly be in the same retail store, and so like, yeah, there's like an interesting thing here where that becomes, it makes more sense to me that you'd say this is the next opportunity for us to grow this business in a space and with a customer that we understand really, really deeply, and in fact that you yourself are. Like, this has all the markings to me of sort of the subjective measures of like, yeah, this can really work. And then if you add the unit economic profile that you feel good about, where you're saying like, we're at a margin spot that we like, and probably gets better with volume like usual and all that stuff. Like, I think I'm a believer. I think that's what I'm saying.
I, that means a lot to me.
Yeah,
Did you use the phrase brand shine? I
I think, yeah,
I think yeah, brand shine. I like that.
yeah, 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 yeah.
We can
But you
have
know what I
one
mean? Like,
brand
yeah,
shine a light on the
yeah, yeah,
other. Yes,
yeah,
I like that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it feels like there's a good case for it. And the failure of a lot of holdcos is the assumption that there's so much similarity when there isn't for some brands. I've experienced that personally, right? So like, they're actually really different, and they have different approaches and some of those things. But when you actually have this customer that you've spent 20 years getting to know, the idea that you could launch more stuff to them that they like, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's one of the tests that a wave has to pass for me in order to justify launching it as whether it's a product inside of one of our brands or whether it's an entirely new brand. Like, we have to be able to leverage the existing audience. Otherwise, it's too hard to get that boulder moving uphill.
Do you have a revenue goal for the first year for Rack Rabbit?
I think if we hit 7 figures in year one, I'm going to be happy.
Okay.
On launch.
Uh,
I think that should be relatively easy for us to do, but
yeah,
I want to, for the team to feel good about the outcome. I think a 7-figure goal in year one is very achievable.
it's not too unlike how I'm thinking about the brand that I'm launching. Is like, you get seven figures or close to it in that first year, especially in this case, I'll have no owned audience. I would feel really, really good about
Yeah.
that.
And
Yeah,
also unlock some of the, I mean, as I mentioned before, with our marketing teams, like there's two people that we want to have to make up an ideal marketing team for the brand. And, being at that scale kind of unlocks the opportunity to put to justify that team.
that makes sense. Um, and I think you're thinking about the structure correctly, which is that each team, the place where there is the least synergy between the brands is in a sneaky way is marketing. You actually need dedicated support for each one of them, just because it's just the work requires too much time and effort to get to know the
Right.
customer yeah. When I hear you talking, I hear this intense focus on product and purpose at the center of everything you're doing. Um, that is sort of guiding what you focus a lot of your time and attention thinking about is how do you do that? How do you create a great product? You said deliver a blindingly amazing customer experience, investing in the actual communities you care about. Is that your secret sauce? Is that what makes the whole thing work? If you and It's easy to say yes, but do you think that's right? Is that it, or is it just like your margin profile is awesome too? Like I mean, it's probably both, but like, yeah,
So, back to the one phrase strategic plan of delivering a product, service, journey, so blindingly awesome that people can't help but share it. That that's kind of how I define brand. Like if you don't have people sharing, if you're not delivering a great product and a great experience of high quality and high integrity that people are willing to go out and talk about, like you don't really have a brand. I will also say that talk about piece I find really important because I believe that there has never been and there will never be a marketing lever as powerful as word of mouth.
yeah.
And so if you don't have that brand piece, that people talking about your piece, then business is going to be a really really tough slog.
Mm.
So yeah, I think yes.
Yeah,
If I try to remember your initial question,
that's the difference. Yeah.
that's
Well,
the special sauce.
yeah, but I'm on a kick right now thinking too about like growth rates and expectations, and I just think people like. Have you talked to Sunil Agrawal?
I haven't. I know who he
You know
is.
Sunil? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so he, I just had him on, and it's like really easy to put up his numbers. $400 million business, publicly traded in India, $240 million lead brand in a holdco, and they just started a new brand from scratch, so they're still starting other brands. It's crazy. You got a $240 million brand on your hands, you're still starting from zero on another brand. So they're just all kinds of stuff. Similarly, all in the jewelry space, jewelry and some lifestyle stuff. So like similar to you, where they really understand certain elements of this customer, and they're doing these things to meet those needs, launching new brands where they need to. But he started in 1980, and so it's as easy as just to promote the 400 million thing. I think of as like been eight figures for a while. That's a really hard road to get to for a lot of people. That's a big marker, uh, you know, uh, with a bunch of growth still in front of you. But you started 20 some odd years ago, or rather 25 years ago, almost now. It's like there's this element of it that I look at and say like that's probably the right expectation for most people when they think about the problem of growing a big business and how to solve it. Is like you just you don't act most people should not expect the sort of like Twitter story or whatever of like super rocket ship growth that like does that. And if they do see that story and are motivated by it, the story they don't see is the rocket ship that explodes midair in the attempt to try to do that, right? There's a survivorship bias to the stories that get told. And so I think there's something about the way you're approaching this whole thing that I'm really attracted to, which is this notion of like we're going to keep putting out great products for the customer over a very long period of time, and in the end, we're going to end up with a really good quality business actually that generates a bunch of profit and that we're proud of and that we're happy to talk about and that we feel invested in deeply in the customer. But I don't know. That's sort of a broad reflection as just like towards the end of this conversation, and you can respond to that any way you want to. But that's kind of one of the things I hear in your story.
Yeah, I think one of the things you mentioned there is, you hear the survivorship bias and you hear these amazing success stories. Yeah, there was a time when we were growing 50% year over year. We did it for 9 straight years. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, and I didn't think we were going to grow. We were going to keep growing like that forever. Like that would be silly, but I think that's what I see a lot in the DTC space right now. It's like, oh, we're crushing it, and we're going to keep doing this forever. It's like, well, no, you're
Yeah.
not. Like at some point, you hit that natural limit to the business, and yes, you can do all the creative things to try to expand and grow, and all the different tactics and approaches. But at some point, you're going to find the ceiling, and then what do you do then? We've always been very conservative in terms of being of debt and profit, right? Like we've been a profitable debt free company for a very very long time, and so
Yeah.
you stack that over a bunch of years, and you get to a point where like, okay, if we want to invest a lot of money into a new brand, like let's
You
go
can do
do
it.
that.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and we don't have to, we're not going somewhere looking for financing to do that. Like we got the owners are just making it happen. They're putting up the funds, and doing it, and we have that freedom. We have the freedom to do so because we've stacked 26 years, not every year of success, but we've stacked a lot of successes over 26 years, and
Yeah.
that's given us a lot of freedom.
Yeah. I love it. All right. I think there's value to the rocket ship stories. I think those people tend to learn things in those situations where I've unlocked something that's really worth like paying attention to. I just am not sure most people should expect their stories to be the same. So
Yeah, kudos to those that can do it, but you're absolutely right. Like
yeah.
that's the exception, not the rule. And
Yep.
you can be very happy, like
Yeah.
you very happy owning
Yeah. Yeah.
a business that never reaches 9 figures.
All right. Sometime I need to get to Kentucky so that then next time we have a glass of bourbon together, it's in person in Kentucky, right there in the right place to drink bourbon. So
That's right.
until then, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. And people should go to roadid.com, dogid.com. I myself need to get a road ID. I don't know why I haven't gotten one. It's because I don't think of myself as a runner. I'm definitely not a cyclist, but I actually run as part of my workout stuff regularly. So it's time to get one. And all those things. Anything else you want to promote? Edward, I know you're not a big social guy, but is there anything else you want to send people to?
You can find me. I'm most active on Instagram, Edward Wimmer 4. Probably going to be talking about cycling more there than anything else.
Yep.
But yeah, check out the websites. And if you want 20% off, Andrew Ferris 20.
All right, look at that. I got my own
Till
discount
the
code.
end of
That's
October.
awesome. Okay,
I
I'm
just
gonna go
made
use it
that up
right now.
now.
I know. I'm gonna go use it. Enter into Shopify immediately because I'm gonna go buy something in just a minute. So that's great. All right, thanks, Edward. Appreciate it.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks for having me.
Right after this call ended, I told Edward he's gonna have to come back in 6 months into 2026 and tell us how Rack Rabbit is going, what he's learning, what he's seeing as he launches that store from the ground up, and how that's coming along. I love Edward. He's a great dude and just a real help and contributor to the community. So I hope you enjoyed that interview as much as I did. I thought it was great. You can email me at podcast@ajfgrowth.com if you have any questions or thoughts or guest recommendations or anything like that. I would love to do that. I'm always looking for questions to answer on episodes. So that's a great way to reach out. You can also go to ajfgrowth.com if you're interested in working with AJF Growth in the future at some point when we start taking on new clients. Just fill out the intake form on the website there. And I'll get in contact with you. Even if I can't be a help to you, I might know somebody who can. So go to ajfgrowth.com, check that out. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. I've got a bunch of great episodes coming up. Jordan Menard is coming, who just had that big debate with Charlie Tickenor, and he's going to come on really soon. The guys from Popsmith, who have a crazy story about the near bankruptcy and then growth of Popsmith, they're going to come soon as well. Just rescheduled with Nazrin Jafari, who's going to come back and talk about her first 7-figure month ever, $1 million month ever. So just all kinds of good stuff coming up. Don't miss any of it. Subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. Thanks so much. I'll see you next time.